Beginning of the minds. Ronald is one of my co-founders, and we discovered that enterprise needed a few things. They needed a public protocol that really solved the adoption issues that we were seeing around public blockchain infrastructure. And we had to do this without sacrificing security. And they also needed a professional services company to help enterprises adopt the technology. And so from there, we founded CasperLabs in 2018. And we founded the company during a crypto winter, and we built the technology during a pandemic. And so we have been very steadfast in our belief that enterprises are central to scaling the adoption of blockchain technology. And in order to do that, blockchain technology had to scale within the enterprise itself. So enterprises really led the way for mass adoption of the internet, and they're going to do the exact same thing with blockchain, right? And, we see ourselves positioned as Red Hat to the open source Linux, right? Us being the Red Hat, and then Linux, of course, being the blockchain technology that's Casper. And businesses are projected to create more than $3 trillion in value by 2030 from blockchain use cases alone, according to Gartner, right? And 93% of global executives believe that blockchain unlocks significant new revenue potential, according to Deloitte. And 75% of executives believe that a failure to adopt blockchain technology in a timely manner is going to result in a loss of competitive advantages, according to Deloitte. And even in an inflationary market, IT departments are continuing to invest in blockchain at higher rates year over year. And in 2021, it topped $6.5 billion alone. So there's a massive demand for a massively underserved market that we believe we're well positioned to provide support in. And we've always been focused on the enterprise market. We always will be. And public blockchains have largely ignored this key market for the past 4 years, but not us. And we're going to continue building this over the next 5 to 10 years as well. So let's talk a little bit in depth as to why Casper, right? I teased this around like upgradable smart contracts, right? And imagine somebody telling you that you can't change your code once you've installed it. And for me, that's absolutely where the story ends, right? Like I would never use a protocol platform with purely immutable code, purely immutable smart contracts. And this is where a lot of blockchains kind of end the story in the public domain. But you have to go further than just providing upgradable contracts. You need to provide strong security guarantees around the versioning of smart contracts on the blockchain. And this is something that only CasperLabs does, right? There are ways to upgrade other blockchain contracts on public networks, but you don't get any security guarantees around the semantic versioning of those contracts, which becomes massively important when you're doing any kind of transactions with value, right? You cannot afford to have any kind of security vulnerability or supply chain vulnerability within your code base. It's possible to have immutable smart contracts on Casper. It's not that it's impossible. It's a contract that can never be upgraded, right? But it allows you to build your contracts incrementally. It allows you to address defects. It allows you to upgrade to maintain regulatory compliance. And if you think about it, all the software that we use today was not written in one go. Any software we've used, right? It's always been incrementally developed. And it is important to recognize that while the history of a transaction needs to be immutable, our future simply is not immutable, right? And so smart contracts need to provide that capability where the blockchain needs to provide that capability that smart contracts can also adjust, evolve, adapt to what the needs of the enterprise and regulatory and customers are for the future, right? And we're seeing a lot that this is an extremely important requirement for a lot of enterprises in order to adopt blockchain technology. So in wrapping, what's our ambition is we want to onboard the next 100 million users onto blockchain technology. And they increasingly look like cloud users today, right? AKA everyday consumers who are customers of major companies. And we believe that through enterprise adoption is how those 100 million users are going to use blockchain technology. And they're not even going to know that they're necessarily using blockchain technology, right? The blockchain is going to be a very small piece of a larger application architecture. It's going to fade to the background and users will get the benefits of the blockchain technology, be it in, more guarantees, new features, and better usability for the products and services that they're used to using today. And so our mission is to handle the back end of this blockchain technology so businesses can focus on solving their core problems and delivering an exceptional customer experience. So the time is now for businesses to harness the power of blockchain and come build with us. And I'm open to hearing questions from folks that are attending the webinar. Thank you so much for your attention. You know, the community and the validator set and the association works to ensure that there is not node consolidation. We work with even the staking providers. Some of the larger staking providers have been pushing forward to actually provision more node infrastructure and select more staking providers to help the network remain decentralized. So it's definitely a focus for us.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And will there be any utility of the Casper token for private companies using the blockchain Casper?
Will there be utility for private companies of the CSPR token using? So if companies choose to use a hybrid model, right, if they're going to use the hybrid blockchain, they're going to be using the Casper public network to get those security guarantees on those private chains. So that will be the way enterprises will use the public protocol, is really to secure those private chains, right? So then they can prove to auditors or customers or whomever they need to prove to that our blockchain is in fact immutable, right? And we think that's an extremely important value proposition that the public network brings. I'm super excited. So in January, IPWE, who happens to be a Hyperledger customer, is actually going live with their hybrid blockchain implementation on Casper. They've already started minting tokens on the Casper mainnet, and our goal is to mint 1 million tokens on Casper by January. And we're really, really excited about this. I think it's going to be a fantastic demonstration of the way hybrid blockchains can work, right? So the patents are secured with the infrastructure of a public network. It's public data that is publicly available, and the provenance and the ownership of that patent is public information. But the terms of sale and the negotiation and how the buy and sell and the leasing of those patents is done on the private blockchain, right? So this is an excellent example of where the terms are negotiated using a private Hyperledger instance. And then once the sale is complete, the patent is transferred or minted on Casper on the public network. And it provides really best of both worlds because it's very clear in terms of who owns the patent, and you can observe the patent as well publicly, because that provenance previously was not known, right? It was not known who owned a patent. It was only known that once the USPTO issued the patent, that was the initial owner. But then after that, if the patent was sold, transferred, leased, there was no information around what the current state of the ownership of that patent was. So this is happening in 2023. I'm really excited about that. And we have some other initiatives, which I can't go into a lot of detail with, unfortunately, due to NDAs, but there's multiple hybrid blockchain implementations we are looking to deploy some for many household names. So we're really excited about this work. These are private public Casper blockchains. We have a few private Hyperledger blockchains that are also interested in a hybrid deployment with Casper. So we're super excited about that as well. You'll be able to hold the asset on the books, and it will be something that you will essentially just recycle and reuse. Without going into too much details about the implementation yet, as it's not live, but I can tell you that in 2023, we will be introducing a revolutionary new way to stabilize gas fees for the enterprise. It's been a promise that we've wanted to deliver on from the day we've, scoped out the blockchain. That's to stabilize gas fees are absolutely essential for the enterprise. And we think we found a really great solution for that.
Yeah, I know, Meta, that you're really big on security and that you guys were researching quantum proofs with the University of Kent. Can you speak on any progress or how that's going and how you guys plan to basically remain future-proof?
Yeah, so quantum is a big area of interest in the public blockchain space, and everybody's people are really concerned around what we can do when quantum computing becomes a real risk to particularly asymmetric key cryptography, right? There's a lot of other things to consider around quantum, right? So absolutely, we're doing research on the quantum side. I don't have a current status update on how that research is going, but we are keenly interested in quantum research, also ZK proof research. We're kicking off an initiative at the association around ZK snarks and the value that they bring for privacy and being able to conduct private transactions, even on a public blockchain, because we see privacy is a really, really big, important use case requirement for enterprises. But on quantum, I can comment in this way. The Casper protocol is one of the few protocols that supports multiple encryption schemes for public keys. So you're not going to find any other blockchain protocol that supports multiple key types. We support ED25519 and we support SecP256K1. And the reason we chose to do this is because we wanted to provide a seamless user experience for anybody that's transacting with Bitcoin or Ethereum. So you can use the same private key infrastructure, right, from a user experience perspective, to transact across both blockchains. And so we're, again, ready for hybrid, technology. And right from the very, very beginning, like this was designed 3 years ago, right, when we initially built the blockchain. And the reason we built that architecture is I want to be able to drop in a new key type at any point in time with absolutely no changes to global state, right? And no changes to the blockchain, very minimal changes. So we can introduce quantum key support with virtually no changes to the blockchain. It would be a very nominal wallet change where you would then associate a quantum key with your account, revoke the main key that's associated with your account, and now your account is quantum ready. That's literally all that needs to be done on Casper, because Casper does support multiple key types. So for us to add quantum keys to Casper is very, very straightforward, and that's because of the underlying architecture. The Casper blockchain does not store public keys in the global state. It stores an account hash, and it doesn't really care what kind of encryption scheme you use for signing transactions, right, on the state. So it's not like you would have to go through this massive migration of all the existing accounts. All the other blockchains use public keys, right, as the accounts on the blockchain. Casper is one of the only ones that doesn't, if not the only one. And so from a quantum readiness perspective, we're ready for what comes in the future.
So if I'm understanding you correctly, this basically the Casper's modular architecture makes it easy for this plug and play key for you to drop in the future versus other layer ones.
Yeah, that's exactly right. Yep. You can basically drop in a brand new encryption scheme, and then it's very simple, user transaction to basically migrate, and you don't have to create new accounts, right? You can just add a quantum key to your account, and now your account is quantum resistant, right? You add one key, revoke the other, and you're done.
That's awesome. Thank you, Meta. This is the way.
So whenever you bring, again, one of the value propositions with Casper is we can make changes to the virtual machine to meet the needs of enterprise. And what we're learning from enterprise is they're not just interested in collections of NFTs that are 150 NFTs. They want collections of NFTs that are 300,000, 1 million, 5 million, 10 million, right? This is what enterprise grade scale is really about. And so our recent changes to our NFT contract will now allow you to create collections as big as 300,000 NFTs with stable gas fees, right, for minting these NFTs. And this is something that's really unique on Casper, and we can bring it to the host. We can actually modify the blockchain, bring NFTs onto the host, and we know that the community will be hugely in favor of this, because then we can actually say that an NFT mint costs 1 CSPR or half a CSPR. And we can do 100 times more NFTs in every block than we can today, just like we do that with CSPR transactions. And this is something we're going to add to Casper 2.0 because of the overwhelming adoption of NFTs and everything we're hearing from enterprises. So we're going to increase the scope of Casper 2.0, but and that will push out the date a little bit. But we believe this is a massively valuable feature that enterprises and our community is going to be really excited about. The other feature we're going to have is contracts will be able to pay for themselves. So when I call a contract, it'll be able to pay for the execution on its own. So if you look at other layer one blockchains, if I'm going to perform what I call a self-sovereign transaction. So what's a self-sovereign transaction? It's you want to have guarantees that I signed the transaction with my key, right? A lot of systems, what they do today with Web3 is I pay a subscription fee and then I transact using the interface. But in order for me to sign the transaction, the subscription provider needs to fund my account because there's no way for me to sign otherwise, or they transact on my behalf. And really the benefit of blockchain is that you want guarantees that I actually signed something, like I did it, right? Well, the only way to do that is if I hold the native token to sign that transaction. So what CasperLabs is building for the Casper protocol is we're going to unify the notion of accounts and contracts. And so what that means now is accounts can sign transactions, but contracts can pay for the transaction. And so what that means is I sign the transaction, but the contract pays for it. And this will represent a dramatic streamlining of the user experience overall for Web3, because now I no longer need to hold token, right, in order to sign a transaction. And the provider can now get guarantees that, wait, Meta, you signed this transaction. I didn't sign it on your behalf. I don't have to look at some Web2 database to know that I did a transaction. I can actually see on the blockchain that this private key, this public key, signed this transaction. And that's like the most important part of blockchain, right? And so when you have to short circuit that, because it's simply too hard and too complicated to get the token in order to transact, that becomes a real problem. So with 2.0, we're going to unify this notion of accounts and contracts. Contracts will be able to pay for transactions directly, even though a user signs it. This is a really, really important value feature, right? And you can also have multi-signature associated with contract upgrades, right? There becomes a lot, like the entire notion of Casper is everything is a contract, right? Even an account is a contract. And it simplifies and streamlines a lot of things. There's a new consensus protocol. We're going to be one of the only blockchains in the space that will upgrade their consensus protocol within 2 years of launch, right? And the reason we can do that is we have a very modular architecture. So we have a version of Casper in test right now that runs both protocols. It goes back and forth. It'll run the production protocol and then it'll run the new protocol. It'll run the production protocol and it switches every 2 eras. And this is massively important from a testing perspective to understand, even from a deployment perspective, if we want to run it in testnet in this hybrid model where we go back and forth between 2 consensus protocols, we can actually do that.
And did you have a way for people to reach out to you, Meta, if you wanted to share that?
Oh, yes. You can absolutely email me at meta@casperlabs.io if you want to reach me directly. I'm very transparent about my email address. Feel free to reach out. And you can also contact us at hello@casperlabs.io if you're looking for more information about us and our offering. Happy to help out.